The Vikings, mighty warriors. 1,000 years ago, a seafaring people known as the Vikings thrived in northwest Europe. They hailed from the rugged region now called Scandinavia, encompassing modern-day Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. These people were masterful shipbuilders and fearless sailors, crafting vessels known as longships that sliced through the water with remarkable speed and grace. Their ships, with their shallow drafts and sleek designs, could navigate both open seas and shallow rivers, making them perfect for exploration, trade, and raids. The Vikings were also renowned as fierce warriors, often launching sudden attacks on coastal towns, seizing goods, and leaving destruction in their wake. In the story that follows, you will delve deeper into the world of the Vikings and the life of a young boy named Ivar. A day in Ivar's life. Long ago, a young Viking boy named Ivar strolled down a grassy path beside a deep, narrow inlet of the sea known as a fjord. The grass glistened with morning dew, and the low sun cast long shadows across the landscape. Despite the early hour, Ivar had been awake since before dawn. His family lived on a small farm nestled between the fjord and the towering mountains, where they raised goats, cows, and a few hardy sheep. Each day, Ivar's responsibilities included milking the animals, feeding them, and repairing fences battered by harsh winds. Viking children did not attend school. Instead, they learned practical skills from a young age to prepare for adulthood. Boys were trained in combat and craftsmanship, while girls mastered weaving, cooking, and managing the household. Ivar was particularly eager to hone his skills as a blacksmith. After finishing his chores, he hurried to the village blacksmith shop, where he assisted in forging iron tools like axes, plowshares, and spearheads. The rhythmic clang of hammer on anvil filled the air as he worked under the watchful eye of the grizzled blacksmith. When he had rare moments of leisure, Ivar joined other boys to practice hunting with bows, fishing with handmade nets, and riding the sturdy ponies that roamed the hills. Music, played on simple wooden flutes, and board games carved from bone were popular pastimes for both boys and girls. However, Viking childhood was brief. By their early teens, young people were expected to take on full adult responsibilities. Ivar's blacksmith training was progressing well. He dreamed of one day owning his own sword, a symbol of status and skill among Viking men. The blacksmith had recently praised Ivar's focus, a stark contrast to the previous day when Ivar's daydreaming led to an embarrassing mishap. He had accidentally tipped over a heavy water bucket, soaking the blacksmith and sparking a rare outburst of anger. Ivar decided to wait a few days before asking about a sword, hoping the incident would fade from memory. Viking raiders and family ties. As Ivar worked, his thoughts turned to his father, Tor, a Viking jarl, or chief, who had been absent for many months. Tor had embarked on a long voyage, leading his warriors on a raiding expedition. The Vikings were notorious for their plunder, using their swift longships to strike coastal towns, monasteries, and villages along rivers. They looted treasures, gold, silver, and fine goods, burned buildings, and took captives, demanding ransoms or enslaving those who couldn't pay. Their raids were so feared that the term a Viking became synonymous with such violent ventures. Ivar missed his father, but took pride in his role as Jarl. Before departing, Tor had tasked Ivar with learning to carve runes, the letters of the Viking alphabet known as the Futhark, which consisted of 16 symbols. Ivar practiced diligently, chiseling a runestone to commemorate his father's journey. He hoped Tor would be pleased with his efforts, as runes were used to record victories, honor the dead, and preserve history. The return of Tor. The Jarl Ivar's concentration broke with the sudden blast of a horn echoing through the fjord. The sound signaled the return of a Viking ship. Peering down the waterway, he spotted his father's longship, its large square sail billowing as oarsmen guided it toward shore. The vessel had been gone for over a year, and the crew's cheers filled the air as they neared land. 4 warriors known as berserkers, men clad in bearskin shirts who fought with wild abandon, leapt onto the beach, their screams adding to the chaos. Berserkers believed themselves invincible, charging into battle without armor, striking terror into their enemies. Next came Tor the Jarl, barking orders to lower the sail and tow the ship ashore. Ivar raced down the steep path, eager to surprise his father. He had grown taller and stronger in Tor's absence and wondered if his father would notice. His excitement nearly led to a fall when his foot slipped on loose rocks, but he steadied himself and continued more cautiously. On the beach, the crew was too busy to notice Ivar at first. As he descended, a tumbling rock alerted Tor, who turned and called out, "Ivar!" Recognizing his son, Tor shouted instructions. "Go back to the village, fetch wagons for the treasure, bring Olaf the shipbuilder for repairs, and tell your mother to prepare a feast. A Viking feast promised abundant food, roasted meats, flatbreads and berries, and lively celebration." "I see you've grown taller," Tor added with a grin. "Perhaps we'll test your strength in a wrestle tonight." Ivar laughed, replying, "Not even the berserkers would challenge Tor the Jarl," unloading the bounty. The crew began unloading the ship's cargo: bags of silver coins, candlesticks, goblets, jewelry, silk, glass, and barrels of wine. Some items were acquired through trade with distant lands, but most were plundered from raided settlements. Among the cargo were captives, thrown into the shallow water by the berserkers. These prisoners, now the Jarl's property, faced a life of slavery unless ransomed. Ivar ran to the farm, shouting for his younger brothers, Harold and Rolf. Father's home, his ship's in the fjord. The boys stared in astonishment before springing into action. Harold sought their mother to share the news, while Rolf helped gather wagons and workers. Ivar continued to Olaf the shipbuilder's workshop, where skilled craftsmen were constructing a cargo ship. These vessels, capable of carrying families, livestock, and goods, were vital as Vikings migrated due to overcrowding and scarce farmland. Ivar's dreams of the Sea of Var longed to sail on such a ship, inspired by tales of old sailors. He knew navigation techniques, using the sun and stars, and the trick of releasing caged birds to find land if lost at sea. He imagined the journey, coastal sailing by day, beaching at night for campfires and meals, and the challenges of open ocean travel with icebergs and fierce waves. Viking ships offered little shelter, but awnings provided relief when anchored. Olaf's crew also built warships, one of which featured a serpent-carved prow to intimidate foes. As Olaf shaped a mast from a tree trunk, Ivar delivered the news of Tor's return. Olaf, delighted, suggested bringing Sigurd the storyteller, a visitor from Greenland, as a surprise. A night of feasting and stories. That evening, the village gathered around a roaring fire for a feast of roasted deer, wild boar, whale meat, cheese, and apples. After eating, Sigurd the storyteller captivated the crowd with tales. He began with Eric the Red, who, banished from Iceland for murder, discovered Greenland. Despite its icy harshness, Eric lured settlers with the promise of Greenland, though farming remained difficult. Sigurd then shared news of Leif Erikson, who explored beyond Greenland to Vineland, modern Newfoundland, a land of grapes and forests, earning the title Leif the Lucky after rescuing shipwrecked Vikings. Tor raised Ivar's runestone in tribute, honoring both Sigurd's news and Ivar's craftsmanship. Ivar, inspired, resolved to learn storytelling from Sigurd, dreaming of a future where he too would command respect with tales of Viking exploits. Viking myths and beliefs. The Vikings, or Norse, also cherished myths explaining their world. They believed gods like Odin, who created the earth from a giant's body, and Thor, god of thunder, ruled Asgard. Odin, sacrificing an eye for wisdom, sent ravens to gather knowledge, while Valkyries carried fallen warriors to Valhalla. Thor's hammer, a gift after Loki's trick on Sif, symbolized his power. These stories, etched in runes and passed through generations, reflected the Vikings' reverence for strength, adventure, and the unknown.